the beginning of the good news of Jesus, the Anointed One, the Son of God. Just as it was written in the prophet Isaiah, "Look, I'm sending my messenger ahead of you who will pave your way." The voice of one crying out in the desert, "Prepare the way of the Lord, make his path direct." And it was so. John baptizing in the desert, proclaiming a baptism of turning around for the pardon of sins. And the whole Judean countryside and all the Jerusalemites were coming out to him and were baptized by him in the Jordan, publicly admitting their sins. Now John was clothed in camel's hair. He had a leather band around his waist, and he ate cave crickets and wild honey. And he was saying, "The one coming after me is more powerful than I'm not worthy to stoop down and untie the strap of his sandal. I baptize you with water. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit." And it was so. In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee, and he was baptized by John in the Jordan. And as he was coming up out of the water, he saw the heaven being ripped open, and the Spirit, like a dove, coming down on him. There was a voice from the heavens, "You are my Son, the beloved. With you I am so pleased." And the Spirit drove him into the desert. And he was in the desert for 40 days, tested by Satan, surrounded by wild beasts. And angels were serving him. Now, after John was handed over, Jesus came into Galilee proclaiming the good news of God and saying, "The opportune time has arrived, and the empire that God brings has drawn near. Turn around and courageously trust in the good news." And going on beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, the brother of Simon, casting nets in the sea, because they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Hey, come after me, and I'll make you into fishers of people." And leaving their nets, they followed him. And going a little further, he saw James, the son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, in a boat preparing the nets. And he called to them. And leaving their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired hands, they went off after him. And he went into Capernaum. And on the Sabbath, he went into the synagogue and he was teaching. People were astounded at his teaching because he was teaching as one having authority, but not like the legal experts. And there was in their synagogue a man who had an unclean spirit. And seeing Jesus, it fell down and cried out, "What is it that you have against us, Jesus Nazarene? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." And Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Shut up! Get out of him!" And the unclean spirit, convulsing the man and crying out in a loud voice, came out of him. And everyone was so astounded, they were arguing amongst themselves, saying, "What is this? A new teaching? With authority, he commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." And the word about him spread throughout the whole area, through the whole region of Galilee. And coming out of there, he went to the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now Simon's mother-in-law was lying down with a fever. They speak to him about her. And going to the place where she was, he took her hand and he raised her up. And the fever, it left her. And she began to serve them. That evening, after the sun had gone down, people were bringing to him all the sick and the demon-possessed, and the whole city was gathered at the door. And he healed many who were sick with various illnesses. And he drove out many demons, but he didn't allow them to speak because they knew him. Early the next morning, Jesus rose before the sun went up and was off praying in a mountain spot by himself. And Simon and those with him track him down and find him and say, "Everyone's seeking you." And he says, let's go to the surrounding villages so that I can proclaim there too, because that's what I came out to do. And he went throughout all of Galilee, proclaiming in their synagogues and driving out demons. And a man with leprosy comes to him, falling before him and pleading with him, saying, "If you want to, you can cleanse me." Moved by compassion, Jesus stretched out his hand and he touched him. And he said, "I want to. Be cleansed." And the leprosy left him, and he was made clean. And becoming harsh with him, Jesus drove him out and said to him, "See that you say nothing to anyone at all, but go and show yourself to the priests and offer the sacrifice Moses prescribed as testimony to them." He went out and he began to proclaim freely and to spread the word, so that Jesus was no longer able to enter openly in the city, but was outside in deserted places. And people kept coming to him from everywhere.